Coming up on today's Philadelphia 76ers now, we have a new Kelly Oubre Jr. injury update. Is he going to return to this team by the end of the week? Also, should the Sixers sign LeBron James this offseason? We're going to have that conversation. Before we dive into all of this, we're having a November sub-battle here inside the walls of Chat Sports between 76ers Now and Boston Celtics Today, our Celtics channel under the Chat Sports umbrella. We are trailing right now for the most subscribers picked up this month. So if you want Sixers analysis year-round, and you want to be informed about this basketball team, and you want to be able to have a voice here on YouTube, then make sure you lock us in and hit that subscribe button right now. Let's begin here with the latest around Kelly Oubre Jr. It's pretty wild what's transpired over the last couple of weeks, from the reports of him getting hit by a car, Adrian Wojnarowski, Shams Charania saying that he's going to miss extended time, and the verbiage that was used with some of those initial reports made it seem like Kelly Oubre Jr. might be out until the end of the year. But as we talked about and covered last week, he was starting to do some basketball activities, and now he's ramping up in trying to return to the floor. He's been out since November 11th with a fractured rib. We still don't know if he got hit by the car or not. I guess we're going to stick with the story that he did. TMZ somehow able to get the ring cam footage of him going back into the apartment. We know that he was in a lot of pain, but why was he in pain? We might not ever find out. Recently returned to practice in limited capacity, and according to some reports out there, Nick Nurse talking about this as well, Kelly Oubre Jr., who got off to a terrific start coming in off the bench, then after the James Harden-PJ Tucker trade, he was in that starting five. He was awesome for this team, and finally Philadelphia had an athletic wing who can impact the game on both sides of the floor, and he might be able to come back against the Boston Celtics. We pivot to this tweet from Keith Pompey, who covers the Sixers for the Philadelphia Inquirer. He said, Kelly Oubre Jr. will accompany the Sixers on the two-game road trip against the Pelicans on Wednesday tonight and the Celtics on Friday. He will not play against the Pelicans, but his status has yet to be determined against Boston. The 6'7" forward was not a full participant in Tuesday's practice due to also participating in return-to-play conditioning drills. There's that from Pompey, and then the aforementioned head coach in Nick Nurse. We're again, trying to do it as fast as we can and get him going. I'm not making many determinations that he didn't make it through everything today. I think he probably could have, but they just decided to go condition him and run him a little bit more. There's some conditioning work that needs to be done on top of just seeing what he can handle contact-wise, right? I mean, I know that he was in, and the next thing I looked up, I saw him doing sprints on the other court, so that's just the medical's best advice on what to do with him at the moment. And Kelly Oubre Jr. was laid up for a little while. He was in the hospital initially, had to go back home with that rib injury, so his conditioning is probably not where it's supposed to be, and the Sixers right now are simply trying to ramp that up a little bit. If you're an avid runner and you take a couple of weeks off, you're not going to be at that level that you were a couple of weeks prior when you were getting after it. Oubre was seen getting shots up, though, on Wednesday morning in New Orleans. So that's a good sign. You have to imagine with the rib injury, he's now able to extend a little bit, shoot the basketball. That was my pretty awful approach at shooting a left-handed jump shot. I'm kind of wet with the right from 25, 30 feet, if I'm just being honest. Final steps are getting in shape with Oubre and just ensuring that he can handle contact. It's one thing to be able to do sprints on the side floor, like Nick Nurse mentioned, or to get shots up. But when you're in the midst of a basketball game and you take a little bow to that rib, is he going to re-injure it and then be on the shelf once again? The Sixers obviously trying to avoid that with the player who's been very valuable to their rotation. This is what we know, though. The initial timeline from Woj and Shams, a little bit exaggerated. Producer Chip and I, we were walking home last night, and you think about the circumstances behind what happened to Oubre. I thought a lot of it was exaggerated at the time. They were treating it as a life and death situation. And Woj and Shams are saying at the time, he's going to miss extended action. When we hear extended action, we think that he's going to be out until after January. I'm thinking about him being missing until, the Sixers go into the NBA trade deadline. It's only been a couple of weeks since whatever happened in Center City, Philadelphia. Either way, regardless of what happened, this is great news for him to get back on the floor. It's great news for the Sixers to get him back, because this is how the Sixers have fared with and without Kelly Oubre Jr. With him, 118.5 points per game, 107 points against per game, 7-1 record. Really good. Without him, though, I think they've struggled a little bit defensively, because the points against has gone up from 107 to 115. Points per game has gone up too, but the defense has suffered a little bit. So too has the record from 7-1 to 5-4. He was really having a career year, and we talked about the story a lot. Everybody slept on him. Everybody ignored him as far as NBA teams in free agency, until the Sixers signed him for that one-year deal worth very little. And then he was really one of the biggest surprises of the entire NBA. Always a player with a lot of pedigree, always a player who's put up numbers, but his seamless fit on this Sixers team and the advantages that he would give the lineup athletically, offensive and defensively, was something that Nick Nurse really utilized and appreciated. Really excited for him to build on top of that, and hopefully he's going to be able to do just that, because these are the numbers that he was putting up. The numbers last year with Charlotte were better as far as points production, but that's an awful basketball team then, still is right now. Sixers are an NBA championship contender, 16 points per game this year, and then the efficiency, which has always kind of been an issue with him, that was there as well. 50% from the field, 37.8% from downtown. If you're excited for Oubre to be back, I want you to type me down in the comment section right now. I'm excited to see what he's going to be able to do for Philadelphia. Coming up next here on the show, should the Sixers sign LeBron James this upcoming offseason? Stay tuned for that conversation, but first, Factor. It's awesome. Ate a couple of meals last night because I was starving after work, and you can get 50% off with the code NBAChat50. Their menu, versatile and diverse. And this holiday season, you might be looking for nutritious, convenient meals to keep you energized on jam-packed days. Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal delivery service, can help you fuel up fast for breakfast, lunch, and dinner with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. You'll save time, you'll eat well, you'll stay on track with your healthy lifestyle, all while tackling all of your holiday to-dos. Skip the stress of meal prepping over the holidays with Factor. You can choose from 35+ weekly flavor-packed, fresh, never frozen meals that support a healthy lifestyle and meet your meal preferences, all delivered to your door, ready to eat in 2 minutes. For me, I'm really into health, wellness, and fitness. I'm very picky about what I put into my body. That's why I like Factor, because it's quality food that's good for you, and I can get that protein punch. 50% off, factormeals.com/NBAchat50. We're going to put that link down below in the comment section, as well as in the description of this video. To round out the show, let's talk about LeBron James here. The Philadelphia 76ers on Monday night handing him the worst loss of his career. The Sixers trouncing the Lakers by 44 points, and they were going wild from three-point range. Joel Embiid was fantastic. Tyrese Maxey looked superb. And we're having this conversation because a good friend of the show, Jack Fritz, who I went to high school with at Bayard Rustin High School in Westchester, Pennsylvania. He now works for WIP. He's kind of expanding his reach a little bit. A lot of people know him as the Philadelphia Phillies guy. Now he's the co-host on the Clap Your Hands podcast alongside Elliott Shore-Parks, who's doing a lot of the same things and growing his portfolio. He used to cover the Eagles strictly. Now he's venturing into some Phillies stuff, as well as some Sixers conversations on the Clap Your Hands podcast. And this really caught my attention because I do think that it's a fascinating conversation. Here's what Jack had to say about signing LeBron James. The Sixers should sign LeBron next offseason. He's going to be a free agent. LeBron to go with Maxey and Embiid. We've been trying to find that right player that doesn't need the ball all the time, that can score when needed, but doesn't take the ball out of Maxey's hands. And I agree with Jack with that sentiment, because when we've talked about some of the other trade pieces that Philadelphia could look to target, a Zach LaVine or another superstar player, those players like a Zach LaVine are volume scorers who require the basketball in order to be productive players. While we've talked about players like Mikal Bridges, Alex Caruso, and OG Anunoby as more realistic options and players that make more sense, they are not going to take shots away from Joel Embiid, who's having another MVP season. And they're not going to take opportunities or ball handling responsibilities away from Tyrese Maxey, who's playing like an all-NBA player this year. The two-man game between Maxey and Embiid has been dominant. Tyrese Maxey's growth as the point guard has been spectacular and really impressive to watch, because every year that he's been in the NBA, he's now in year 4, not only has he gotten progressively better and better, making massive improvements, if you look at kind of his role on the team every year, it has changed. And I like where Maxey and Embiid are at right now. And when you think about LeBron James, he can bring the ball up and he can control the basketball as a primary ball handler and distributor, but he can also play off ball. But he can literally play all 5 positions on the floor. And right now, yes, he's a little bit older, but he's defying father time, looks to be in great shape. And I'm with Jack. I do believe that LeBron James would be a really good fit on this Sixers team. Obviously not long term, right? But the Sixers aren't looking down the road 5 years from now. They're all in on trying to win a championship right now, this year or next year. They're going to have between $52 and $65 million of cap space. Would it be wise to use it on LeBron? Has a player option this offseason, which I think that he will probably decline because the Lakers are just not a good basketball team right now. He did say, LeBron, that he wants to play with his son Bronny, who is at USC right now before he retires. Philadelphia might be able to draft Bronny James potentially. And yes, I understand that LeBron is going to be 40 years old next season. And the injuries have been able to stay away from holding back LeBron up to this point. That is obviously a concern as he continues to get a little bit older because the tread on the tires is real. Leading scorer in NBA history. He's played so much in the regular season. And then when you combine all the playoff mileage, this guy has played a lot of basketball. But on this Sixers team, you're not asking LeBron to be peak LeBron, where he's averaging between 28 and 30 points per game with 10 assists and 10 rebounds. You're asking him to be one of the third components on this Sixers team. Do the 76ers need LeBron James? Yeah, probably not. Would he make them better? Absolutely. Could he close games down the stretch? No doubt about it. Can you give him the rock and say, LeBron, go get a bucket in crunch time when the pressure cooker is on? For sure. And he adds versatility to the scoring options for the Sixers. You have the wiggly ball handler who is Allen Iverson-like fast in Tyrese Maxey. You have Joel Embiid who can score from all 3 levels, face you up in the post, back to the basket. He has the versatility there. And then LeBron can kind of just do everything on the floor. And he's still right now a very dominant player. So some interesting stuff with that conversation with Jack, as well as Elliott Shore-Parks. And then I wanted to insert my opinion here on the show as well. So with that, we queue up this. We asked you one poll question earlier. Now we're hitting you with another one. Would you want LeBron on the Sixers? Age, money, all those concerns. Let me know. Type Y for yes or type N for no. And before we hop on out of here, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 14,000 subscribers. Producer Chip has been doing a great job of helping me grow this channel. Help us grow it by hitting that sub button.